iron. The news is on the way, it'll lead you through the woods of the ever-changing games we play. What's going on today? I'll turn your system off and we'll jump into a brand new wave. I don't want to. Hey, hey. Hey, yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Iron Podcast. We are at episode 4, and we have here today, once again, me, your host, Anthony, the owner of Iron Sentinels, your returning co-host, the ever-lovely Tim Morris, our CSGO captain, and new to the podcast, we have Chris from the Iron Legion. Say hi, Chris.
Going on, guys?
There we go. So, first we're going to talk about today is, of course, CES. I mean, if you're anything into gaming or technology, then you've been keeping up with CES in these past few days. So, VR. This is the big thing as far as gaming is concerned. We're going to talk about PlayStation VR, Oculus Rift, and HTC Vive, because those are the most predominant ones. Which one are you guys most excited for, Tim?
HTC.
HTC, Chris?
I would say PlayStation, but I have a PC that's powerful enough to run HTC Vive, so I'm a little bit excited to see that.
Gotcha. What about you, Chris?
I'm gonna go with the PlayStation, just because it's PlayStation. That's gonna be the first gaming console to have an actual virtual reality headset, and it seems like Sony knows what they're doing. I mean, it's gonna have to have something catch on with it, because a PC and virtual reality can do so much more. So it just depends. We have to see where it goes.
I agree. I think my personal choice is also the PlayStation VR, partly because, unlike Tim, I don't have a PC that can handle the HTC headset, but also because, the thing that's exciting about PlayStation making their own headset is they can have all their first-party people create content for it, so it won't launch without anything to play it on. So that's really, really, really good, and I think that'll help it build a pretty good following, so that way it can keep up with the more powerful PC headsets. I mean, as far as the HTC and the Oculus are concerned, I mean, we all have heard the Oculus price point, $600, which has definitely shocked some people, and other people, they kind of understand, but still it is pretty steep. From what I understand, the PlayStation is probably going to be around maybe $300 to $400, somewhere in that range, which I think is a reasonable price for VR. And the HTC, we don't know, but we can only assume it's probably going to be the same, as probably $400, around there, which is weird because from what I understand, and I was just doing some research on this before we started the podcast, but the HTC is generally considered the more advanced of the two, mostly because it has a lot of accessories that allow you to do more. Like when you're using the Oculus, you basically have to stay contained in about a 3x3 square, and so that way it can keep, solid tracking on your body and hands and your head. But the HTC Valve headset comes with sensors that you place around a room, so you have a full range of movement anywhere in the space that you're in. So that's pretty amazing. You can actually walk around the world instead of just being limited to a little square. Plus, at CES, they showed the new version of the HTC Vive that has the camera on the outside. So you can actually see like the real world and make sure you don't run into anything, which is something that none of the other headsets have, which honestly I think should be a standard on there. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I was about to say, if
idea.
it doesn't, you can't tell where you're walking, it's not going to end well for most people.
Exactly. I mean, probably for the PlayStation, you'll mostly be seated, so that probably won't be a big deal. But for like the Oculus, if you're standing and you're moving around, I mean, you don't want to be bumping into your desk and knocking over your PC and breaking things. That's why it's so cool that HTC is like, well, let's just put a camera on the front of it. And so how it works is when you get close to an object, it pulls up a transparent, like a kind of opaque image on your game screen, and it shows you what you're about to run into. So it's like, oh, you're about to hit an object, stop, back up. So that way you don't knock over things and break stuff, which I think is simple but really cool at the same time.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, it's funny to me that Oculus has kind of jumped the gun here and hit it with that price tag that's kind of, steep for most people to handle. Plus, $600, and that doesn't even include like a PC that can run it. I mean, you're still going to have to spend, if you don't already have it, a pretty hefty amount to build a rig that can handle VR at its max settings. Like Tim, you have a pretty beast PC, and we're not even sure, what capabilities your PC will have. Maybe like medium to maybe high settings, but you definitely won't be cranking it out on ultra, which is kind of crazy.
It's just one of those things with VR that with PCs, there's so many different types of hardware. I really think that the graphics card I have, I probably would be able to play it at ultra settings if everything was, let's say, optimized, but that's not always the case.
Right.
So
and it does also depend on the game.
Yep.
But yeah, it's that I think that's what worries me about VR in the PC market is I think, it's going to be such a niche like area of people who can afford to own it and run it. Whereas the PlayStation, anybody who owns a PS4 can play with PSVR.
Yeah, you know it's going to work.
Yeah, you just plug it in, you put it on, and wham, you're in. Like, that's it.
I will say that with PlayStation VR, the biggest thing here is price. If they price this thing wrong, I think it'll blow up, and not a lot of people will buy it. So I really think that what price they go with, I think, is very, very important because people... You've seen the reaction now, how people see 600 plus or 500 plus in peripherals. Like, people don't want to spend that much money on it. It seems to me like the majority of people want to spend, I would say maximum, maybe like $300 on
probably. I
think most people would probably pay around $300 for a VR headset. And past that, they're just like, I'm never getting one.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, personally, I'd pay a little more, but that's just me.
Yeah. I'm disappointed in Sony because, Anthony, we watched that conference for a good hour.
Oh, yeah, let's get on this.
And they were talking about 4K cameras, 4K, like, projectors, 4K is the future, YouTube 4K. And they kept showing pictures of the VR headset. And then they said goodnight, and they didn't talk about the headset at all.
That was kept promoting so bad. So bad.
A waste of time.
It was clickbait. Sony clickbaited everyone. They showed all this VR like footage and teasers, and then me and Chris here were there for the whole hour watching this live conference where they talked about, like he said, 4K out the butt and lamps that also double as speakers, which, I guess that's cool, but did anybody really want that? I don't think so. I just felt like Sony, their conference was just a little lackluster, to be honest with you. 4K is cool, but 4K is also really expensive.
Cool if you win the Powerball.
Yeah, it's cool if you win the Powerball, but I ain't rolling in the money, so I can't go out and buy Sony's like $7,000, $8,000, $9,000 Bravia 4K TV or their like a couple grand monitor to run a 4K PC rig on. I feel like they were pushing a little too hard on the 4K and less on the things that make the money, which is PlayStation. And by the way, PlayStation doesn't even support like a 4K output right now. So, even
like PlayStation itself would be able to like output 4K games. Not everything would be 4K, but like say small things like Resogun. Not big games, right? But the thing is that the way it was designed was that it wasn't designed to be able just to switch resolutions. The thing is, that's something that's very popular with PC gamers. I don't understand this big push for 4K. For PC, I think it makes a little bit more sense, but as far as consoles go, it's something that I would say is maybe it sounds kind of crazy, but maybe 10 or so years in the future before it becomes the standard, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, for the standard for sure.
It's gonna take a long time because technology is to catch up. I mean, my graphics card was around almost the price of a game console, and it could probably maybe run 4K at like 5 frames.
Exactly.
I think it'll be a little less before 10 years. The problem with 4K is by the time that becomes a standard and most people have, like, you know, everyone's almost got an HD TV. By the time everyone's got a 4K TV, which really isn't that much better for what they're pricing it than a 1080p TV, they've already announced that they've created something better than 4K. It's called 20K.
Yeah.
So they've already announced that they're making it. So by the time everyone's got it, they're going to be like, hey, 20K coming out, and then the PS4 or PS5, whatever is out by then, it's going to be outdated again.
Yep, pretty much.
My TV I got on Black Friday is a 48-inch Sony Bravia. Doesn't have 4K, doesn't have 3D. I got this on Black Friday. It was half off, and it was $500.
Yep, that sounds about right. I mean, that's just Sony's way.
It's just...
They're a little
technology's
expensive.
Cool, but it's so expensive, and I can't imagine getting a decent 4K TV.
Speaking of expensive things, Asus was debuting, if I can speak correctly, their graphics dock for their laptop, which is insane. So if you guys aren't very technical, so you guys know what a desktop graphics card is. You know, you put it into the slot, you screw it in, you're done. It's very different than your normal laptop one, which is built in. Like, you get that?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so basically what Asus did is they made it to where you can put a desktop graphics card in this case, and this chassis will hold it, power it, and your laptop will use that desktop graphics card for your laptop. And all you do is you plug it into USB, and it works.
Go. Asus, baby, they're the kings.
Honestly, like, everyone was talking about VR and shit, and I saw that, and that legit, like, it blew my mind whole. Like,
But how much is it?
They haven't really said anything, because the thing is it's not like you just get a graphics card and it's not like it comes with one.
Card. Yeah, it's like that data bank for PS4.
It's like you buy the case for it, and it sets it up to where you can do stuff. So really, it's kind of open-ended. Like, if you have a laptop and you want to get this type of graphics card thing set up, it really depends on what you want to do, because from what I'm seeing, it uses a PCI Express slot 3.0, and that's basically any new card. So you can get like a GTX Titan and use it on your laptop.
And then you can play that 4K.
Yeah.
But if you're going to pay that kind of money, you might as well just get a desktop. I mean, who's going to honestly spend the time to upgrade a laptop that much? You only have so many USB ports on a laptop.
Desktops are something that's better, but the only real limit, I would say, of gaming on laptops right now are really just the GPU wise. They always have had to tone down the graphics performance just because of heating concerns, because if you had it running at the same desktop speed, your laptop would probably explode.
Plus you got to fit everything into a limited space.
Yeah, that too.
That's part of the problem. And if you can use a desktop GPU on a laptop, it would have the same, basically, if not the same, it would be extremely similar performance to an actual desktop PC.
That would be awesome.
So the advantage of this is that you don't have to have the limitations of a desktop PC. You get the advantages of both. You get a desktop PC when you're home, and when you're going out places, you have your nice small laptop that's really portable to take with you. So I think it's a pretty good idea.
I think it's a step in the right direction.
Let's see how much it is.
Yeah,
that's the true factor.
The case itself, these type of cases I've seen before, I would probably... It doesn't seem like it's even that much of an insane technology. All it does is it goes to USB-C, which is the new USB, and it plugs into a laptop. Like, it's nothing like... As far as components in it, it's not something that is extremely hard to do. It's the software sides of things that's where it gets expensive.
Right.
But I think if I had to put a guessing point, it would probably be maybe $150 or $200 for this little graphics card case. So you are investing a lot in it, but I would say it's not like for the market of people that are not spending a lot of money on their computers anyway.
Right. And then you can have a kick-ass Titan, run your 4K, and run your VR, and there you go. It all connects back to each other. It's beautiful. That's what CES is all about. Technology to help technology.
It was amazing. Like, honestly,
oh, it's impressive.
It blew me away.
Yeah.
Asus is just an impressive company, honestly. They don't do anything half-ass. Their stuff is always
You know,
top
what's
of the
really funny
line.
is I found this article because there is a YouTuber I watch, Linus Tech Tips, and he was at their booth and he was checking things out, right? And you know what was really funny is he was like, he wanted to see if unplugging the USB where the graphics card is going in would actually make the computer crash. Because technically speaking, you basically just turn off the graphics card. That's kind of a core component of it. And he ended up breaking the computer and everything. Everything just had to be reset. And you can see the tech guy behind him just start shaking his head and get. So I thought that was kind of funny. Because they said in the future, like, you're just gonna be able to unplug it and just go off and be able to do your own thing.
That'd be
But
awesome.
I guess that's not done yet, though, because it is something that is very hard to do. Like, you're switching one graphics card over to another, like, quickly. That's not something that can be easily done.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, you know, maybe that's part of they can perfect that technology before they release it out to the general public, which would be awesome if they do. I might consider doing it if that's the case. Though I'll be too busy using my VR PlayStation thing. And I'll be like, oh yeah, I'm stuck in the world. I'll never leave. I get stuck in the game. People are like knocking on my door like, are you alive in there? I'll be like, no, I'm playing.
So, more stuff in the PC market. So Corsair has been they've been hinting towards their new line of PC cases, because the thing with PC cases, there's the basic bare bones stuff, and there's the crazy stuff that most people don't buy.
Fancy
So
stuff.
Corsair is trying to do is they're trying to get somewhere in the middle, but still make it really, really cool looking. And they're coming out with two $100 cases, and honestly, I think they have built-in LEDs. They have room for a radiator with water cooling. The bottom part, where all the cables and stuff go to the rest of your computer for power and stuff, that's all hidden. It's really cool to see a lot of these cases come out, because when I bought my case, there was this thing, and this is one of the best cases you could get for like, I think $50, and anything that was like $100 is very similar. So they're finally starting to get some idea of, well, this is what the majority of people are going to buy. So why don't we spice it up a little bit and make it look nice? And a lot of the stuff coming in the PC sort of scene is like that, because a lot of people like making their computer look all fancy, putting those LEDs in. And if you add, say, like some software to brighten things up and, and some LED lights, people will spend the tiny bit of extra money.
Now,
to
if you
have
can't,
everything set up for them.
if you can't tell, audience, Tim here is the PC of us. Me and Chris are obviously more on the console side of things, and
So,
Tim
to be
is the
specific.
PC fan here. Mostly because he spent much more money on his PC than we ever have, and so he can actually use a PC to do real things.
Chris was close.
Chris was close, but then he decided the console's gonna work. That's all he needs,
I
really.
mean, someone seems to forget their roots too sometimes.
I don't forget my roots. Like, I like my PlayStation. It's just currently there's not a ton of stuff to play.
We
on
had a
right now.
conversation pretty recently, and you were thinking about selling your PS4.
I didn't say that. I said I got an offer for it. I never.
You said
I
you
actually
thought about
it. Yeah, I
You
thought.
thought
Of
about
course,
it.
I'm gonna think about it. If someone asks me, I'm not just gonna be like a zombie, not think about it.
There you go.
But yeah, there's these $100 cases coming on the market, looking really, really cool, adding some cool features, because anything that can help you in the long run with cable management and all that shit is very helpful, because when you're investing like hundreds, if not thousands of dollars in a computer, you want to make sure it's not a complete pain in the ass when you're putting it together.
True.
So going
Yeah.
on with more VR, let's talk about VR
Yes.
porn. VR
Yeah.
porn
Now we're
Masturbation will
cranking.
never be the same.
Yes.
I like this plan.
Apparently, this group of people that make VR porn, they're called Naughty America. They have like 26. They have 26 videos already done. They say that it'll be a $1 billion a year business, is what he's saying. They're saying this thing's going to take off. Everyone's going to do it. And one of the very first movies that some people were watching was Very Merry XXSmas.
Oh my god.
Let's just take a minute to stop here. This is the future. It's a $1 billion business.
Yeah.
Where are they getting this statistical information from saying that everyone's going to use this? If people have that much money and they want, to use a VR in porn, that they've got money.
What?
They could just pay someone and do the real thing.
What
It's sad to say, but
No, VR is the future of everything.
Oh,
What
man.
I want to know is if the Pornhub twerking butt is going to work with this. You know what I mean? Like you put it in the USB slot or whatever, and then it interacts with it.
Well, see, I was telling you earlier, I've heard about this before. I remember seeing they have like a robot, and they didn't actually take their pants off and demonstrate it, but they had this robot that was demonstrating it, and it actually covers your penis, and it's programmed. The movie's got program files in it. And it actually moves depending on what's going on in the movie. So you're actually feeling it and getting feelings on your body and everything of what's going on in the movie.
Well, this is taking a turn for the naughty side. And while that does sound appealing, that's also kind of a little sad when you think about it if you have to use something like that.
What this guy also says, the CIO of Naughty America, Paul, said, you're not going to buy a device just for porn. That's embarrassing. He's saying is that
what about that robot?
You get your Oculus Rift, you get your HTC Vive, and then you're like, hey, you know what I feel like doing right now? I feel like having an interactive adult movie here.
Yeah, obviously that would be your first thought. Once you plugged it in, you're like, yep, now it's time.
It is something that's funny, and I think it's something that should be expected to happen.
But it's sad that it has to exist in this world now.
It's not sad. It's a beautiful thing,
I will say that it would be something really funny to walk in on someone doing, I would say.
Like you would just walk in the room, walk out. You couldn't say anything. You'd just be too speechless.
Someone would be on their VR headset and just be like, what are you doing?
Or
they'd freak out, or you could push them in the back, kind of like how that guy was in the mall with the roller coaster, and they pushed him, and he had a panic attack because he had the headset on and he was flying around in the roller coaster. And it felt like he was falling.
So
now we know.
What is your guys' favorite tech of CES that you saw?
I don't know. I mean, there's a few things. There's two things I really like. One is LG was there with an OLED display that could fold and roll up on itself.
I saw that. That was amazing.
Now that is really impressive. Okay, I guess there's more than two things. Also, I saw a quick video of holograms, and it was this booth that was displaying different objects and holograms, like they had a watch, and it was very cool. It looked very real and very Star Warsy, which I like that part. And then, of course, third is the PlayStation VR. Even though we didn't see much of it, I did see a few videos of people who had hands-on experiences with it, and it looks great. They were showing one video, and I know, Tim, you are a fan of this series. They were showing Gran Turismo, and it's VR.
Oh, wow.
It's the new Gran Turismo is going to have VR compatibility. Man. So that means you can sit in the car and you'll have your headset on and you'll be looking around, and that is awesome.
Think about, you're gonna have to get a steering wheel and a seat.
Oh, if you had
it's gonna be in a car pretty much.
Yeah.
Oh my God,
that would be so cool if you bought all those peripherals. That would be amazing. That and another franchise Tim and I are familiar with from a different game, the PSVR Eve Valkyrie game. And this is made by the people who obviously make EVE Online, the older MMO that is crazy complex, and the same people who made Dust 514, which me and Tim have some experience with. That did not
I
go
remember
well.
that game.
Pay to win.
Yeah, which is kind of concerns me about this new game they're making. You know, they are a little bit on the pay to win side of things, so we'll see how that pans out. But it's in a space dogfighting game with the VR headset, and that's really cool. So yeah, those are my 3 technologies for
Read
CES.
that No Man's Sky was supposed to be VR compatible too. It just depends
Don't
on
get
if
me
that game's
started
ever
on
going
that
to come
game.
out.
So, Chris,
I
what is
don't-
your favorite stuff of CES?
I haven't really paid too much attention to it. I mean, obviously the VR scene's really important right now. But I was watching a video on Facebook earlier. I didn't catch the name of it. It's those wireless earbuds that sit around your neck that people wear now.
Yeah.
I have a pair of them. I mean, they're decent, but there's actually a new thing that people are coming out with. It's a little wireless, like a little die. It's almost the size of the end of your thumb, and it sticks in your ear. It doesn't have any wires or anything. And it's like virtual, not even virtual, it's real surround sound. You can tap it, and it'll completely be noise canceling. If you're getting a call, you can shake your head no, and it'll reject the call.
What?
Yeah,
That's awesome.
So it
That's
seems
actually
like those-
really cool.
those are going to be awesome in the future pretty soon.
I like
That's
that a
cool.
lot,
That's
actually.
really cool.
What about
So
you,
let's go
Tim?
on. Oh, I was gonna go on the next topic.
Well, you didn't say your favorite technology.
Oh, mine was. I already said it was the Asus thing. That
Okay.
blew me
Yeah.
away because that kind of changes what a motherboard is. Sort of. It's kind
Changes the
of
PC industry as a whole now.
It's really impressive.
Okay.
So let's talk about the end of PC gaming piracy forever. The end is nigh. Bring out the pitchforks. Get ready to go nuts because guess what? Just Cause 3 could herald the end of PC gaming piracy. So, if you didn't know, there's a Chinese hacking collective. I think they're called 3DM Piracy Collective, something like that. And they've been trying to crack Just Cause 3 for ever since it came out, and they've been having trouble because the game uses a anti-tamper technology called Denuvo. And unlike conventional DRM, it aims to protect the content itself. So what it does is it prevents debugging, reverse engineering, changes of executional files to strengthen security of games. There's other games that have had this too previously, like Dragon Age Inquisition, Lords of the Fallen, FIFA 15, FIFA 16 is gonna had it.
I think the new Call of Duty has it.
The new Call of Duty has it. So basically, these people are about ready to give up on piracy. They said recently many people asked us about cracks for the Just Cause 3, so here's the centralized answer to this question. The last stage is too difficult. In June, the person apparently was trying to crack it nearly gave up last Wednesday, but last Wednesday I encouraged them to continue. She went on to say, I believe the game can be compromised, but according to the current trends in the development of encryption technology, in 2 years' time, I'm afraid there'll be no free games to play in the world.
Oh, that's what I'm talking about. Screw those pirate motherfuckers.
It kind of ruins it because I mean
It ruins
it's like
it for a lot of
it's the
people.
same thing with music. I mean you make this game and you spend so much money and time devoted to making this game, and on consoles it's a lot harder to do this. But it not only does it cost them money, but it defeats the purpose of seeing how well their game sold. And because some people will never buy it, they'll just play it for free, especially like single player games. So instead of actually seeing their true numbers and stats on how they did with the game, they're never going to know because a cracked version isn't going to count.
Right.
Yep.
Exactly. That's exactly right.
I think it is something that has to happen. I'm tired of the excuse I hear from people that it's not worth the money, but then they go ahead and put in like, say 100 hours of gameplay into it, and it's like, obviously it is worth the money, and you like the game because you wouldn't be downloading it and playing it right now, would you? If you really thought the game wasn't worth the money, then why did you download it and play it in the first place?
Yeah, that's just people being cheap.
It does. You're just cheap. You don't. The only time I think I'll ever understand, maybe even a little bit, is if you don't have the money. But even then, wait till you have the money.
Yeah, I mean,
And then
it's the same thing as stealing. You don't steal a game because you don't have the money for it. You know, you don't go
Yeah.
to GameStop and steal it. Like, hey, I don't have the money. Just give it to me.
The thing is that this DRM stuff isn't going to stop. I would give the example of The Witcher 2. If you don't know, that is the most pirated game in history. It has over 220 million downloads.
Why?
I don't know. I think part of it is too because the game, it was one of the first games back then to have no DRM because so many people complain about DRM. And the one time a major game comes out that does not have it, guess what happens? It's pirated the hell out of because people don't care. People want to get games for free, and if they can get it for free, they're going to.
Forgive me, but explain DRM.
Digital rights management.
Okay. Nah, I just didn't know what the analogy was.
Oh, so
There you go.
DRM is kind of annoying. So let's say Far Cry 4. In order to launch it, I have to go through their launcher Uplay. Every single time I want to launch the game, I can't just launch the game. I have to open up Uplay, sign in. I have to launch it from there. It's just aggravating. With Steam, it's different because Steam is a collection of games, but I'm only going to Uplay for Far Cry 4. I don't give a shit about Uplay in general. Uplay is stupid. You can't even buy games on Uplay. You have to go to the website and then take the key from there and then activate it on Uplay.
Very true.
It's stupid. So some cases I would say it makes sense, but it's just aggravating. Same thing with Origin is the same thing. So that is why some people do decide to pirate. I've known some people that will buy the game and they'll get the pirated version because they don't want to launch it through Origin or Uplay or whatever because they hate those.
But I mean,
passionate
there's
hate.
a reason it's there.
Yeah, there's a reason it's there and it always is going to be there. So let's go on to gaming news. So this is something that relates, I would say, more to me and the Counter-Strike scene in general more than you guys. But so I would say around a year ago, there is a scandal where iBuyPower, they were found out that they actually were throwing matches to get skins. So essentially, skins in Counter-Strike, you guys already know, are worth a ridiculous amount of money. So what they do is they would bet on a site. I believe it's called CSGO Lounge. That's where a lot of those skin bettings go. What they do is that they would bet on the other team and then they would throw the matches themselves because they would get money out of it. This was at a time where Counter-Strike players weren't getting salaries. They weren't really getting a lot of money in general for it. So I can kind of understand where they're coming from, but I don't think it was good enough for them to actually do it. But Valve came out and they said that they're permanently banned from the scene forever. Anything like competitive CSGO at any level, they're basically banned from, besides playing a normal matchmaking. So
They should be.
gone.
I mean, cheating is cheating. I mean, we just
lot
had
of
this
people-
issue in the Call of Duty section.
The only
I mean,
reason people wanted them unbanned is because of the state of North American Counter-Strike, which is getting nowhere and getting absolutely demolished by all the European teams. But I'm sorry, I would rather have the scene of North America in trouble for a long time and continuing to be so than allow cheaters to come back in simply because they're good.
because that's
Yeah.
even though, cheating is bad. I'd rather have Americans be known as cheating and not allowed to play than to get away with it. And that's how every team is. They're able to get away with it and cheat, and then they still get whooped.
Yeah, you wouldn't trust any of the American teams, let alone
wouldn't go
just
anywhere.
iBuyPower. But I mean, the American scene is about to get a lot tougher because, Optic is in on it now. And once Optic gets in on it, everybody just bow the fuck down because they're
think-
going to come stomping through.
I think the North American scene is weird right now because you'll see teams like Cloud9, which have been to majors and shit before, lose to brand new teams. And it's just very strange. the team that Optic bought itself isn't even like that good of a team. They haven't really done a whole lot. They haven't really been anywhere. They haven't really been to a lot of major tournaments. They just haven't really got anywhere. They've been kind of stuck. So I think what we've seen so far from them playing, it is a good sign. But as far as real success against a lot of these top tier teams like Fnatic, Envious, I don't think they're going to have a lot of major success and majors in the long run still, just because of how amazing these teams in Europe play.
I mean, I think the Optic name carries with it a lot of power.
It does in Call of Duty, but in Counter-Strike, the name people fear are Fnatic.
This is a true fact.
But notice when everyone found out Optic had created a team, everyone opened their eyes, and that brought a lot more people to Counter-Strike just because of them. It brought a lot
more, I guess, people that don't usually play, but in the Counter-Strike scene itself, most people are actually kind of angry.
Of course, because they've got,
it's because
another
it's Call of Duty
branding.
And anything Call of Duty related with Counter-Strike at all, they bring out the pitchforks and get ready to burn them down.
I don't know if Optics had another gaming team besides Call of Duty, but I mean that's not all they do anymore. I mean, obviously their main
I think it's definitely
a
good move in the right direction. Like, North American Counter-Strike does need to get better, and something needs to happen because the talent is in the US. The problem is that they're all split on different teams is the problem. Like, we have like Sean Garris is one of the best in-game leaders of all time for North America, and his team I don't feel like they even did a whole lot. And it's just, I think the difference is you see things like Fnatic where they're willing to drop some of these friendships and get someone who's a better player in and get that success. And while North American teams are more wanting to play with their friends and do, that kind of stuff.
I mean, Optic brought something to the table. So.
I think they brought a new team to the table, but I think it's going to take a while to see if they brought a good team to the table.
Well, what I mean by brought to the table is, they have established that universal different gaming org. Now we've got Call of Duty and Counter-Strike under the same org, and it's a top name that everyone knows whether you play Call of Duty or not.
Mm-hmm. So Optic is big. I'm glad they're starting to do it. It is nice to see some other ones in there because
more teams are going to do it now. That Optic's done it, so it'll bring something interesting to the table.
Maybe you'll see FaZe CSGO.
There you go. Oh, that's what's next. It's coming.
Honestly, if another team was next, it would be them. Oh, apparently, according to Google, they are trying to get it. They're trying to get a CSGO team.
There you go. Everybody, CSGO and Call of Duty are going to be one.
But they can't even keep a full Call of Duty roster. I don't know how they're going to get a Counter-Strike roster.
Well, they'll figure it out.
The thing is with Counter-Strike right now is there are some teams that don't get paid a lot, so you can simply buy them out. That's what Optic did. They bought, like the Optic team right now, they were known as Conquest before, and Optic just bought out the team, and they're playing for Optic under the Optic name now.
So is Conquest still an org, or did they buy the org, or did they just buy the players individually?
Conquest, I think, was just the name of the team that they were in. I don't think they were in like an org or whatever. It doesn't seem like they were in an org.
Yeah, they're just playing on their own accord.
Yeah, and that does happen. Like Team Solo Mid, they have their own team called Team Question Mark, which is a little weird.
I love it. That's what we should change our name to.
I called them Team Choke Mid because they always choke in a lot of the games they're in.
Ooh.
Let's move on to Horizon Zero Dawn. Guerrilla Games said that they're pleased with the quality open world map. So I didn't even know this game was open world. I didn't know that. But this game looks badass. There's fucking robot dinosaurs. It's fucking who doesn't want to just beat up a robot dinosaur? I'm sorry, that's badass.
Isn't it like in way back when time period?
Yeah, if you guys or anyone listening is unfamiliar, Horizon Zero Dawn is, like Tim said, a Guerrilla Games, which is one of Sony's first party developers. It's open world. it takes. I mean, I don't know about the time period. It's a little weird because it has robots and shit.
From
But
what I've understood is that it was like our current setting, and then they developed robots, and they took over, and then
yes,
it kind of developed into what it is. That's from what I understand. That's what it is.
Yeah, but your main character, I mean, from what they've shown, uses things like a bow and arrow and things like that, not like a bunch of big guns and stuff. So it's kind of like the technology to make the robots evolved, but the people devolved into kind of like caveman type situation.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I think it looks really, really cool.
Oh, yeah. Really cool.
It's also going to be visually amazing because everyone knows how Guerrilla Games' last game was.
Yep.
Killzone Shadowfall. Like, regardless of how you thought the game was, that game was gorgeous.
Yeah. That showed you what the PS4 could do.
Oh, yeah.
Yep, that's exactly what it was. It was just it was a sweet tech demo for the PS4's capabilities. Guerrilla Games, they know how to do the graphic side of things.
They do. They just need them and like Naughty Dog to team up, and then
yeah,
the best story and then the best graphics.
It would be a fantastic game.
Still waiting on that Crash Bandicoot Naughty Dog. Please.
I mean, my dream already came true. New Ratchet and Clank remake. Oh God. I'm so excited for that. So let's go on to Assassin's Creed. Got delayed to 2017. So usually they've been going every single year, and since they started doing that, there were certain issues that occurred. Unity being one of them, where it had major frame rate issues at launch. That one, I think part of the reason why it had issues was because just of how massive of a scale they are going for, which was visually, I thought visually the game was really good, but the scale of it was nuts.
They had like 1,000 AI in one area at a time.
Oh yeah,
that's what created the traumatizing no face, teeth, and eyeball.
Once they did fix like the frame rate issues, I ran it on my computer. I would say maybe a good year after the game came out, and it ran perfectly fine on mine. And I also played it on, PS4 after they fixed it. And the game is solid. Like, honestly, that was one of the games that got me kind of back into Assassin's Creed. And then Syndicate came out, and I kind of got out of it again. Because I'm kind of tired of I understand England's cool and everything, but I wanted we've been to England like 3 times now. I want to move on from England.
They don't have any more ideas.
With the new one, Egypt, that is fucking cool. That is something
really
unique. Yeah, the new one's taking place in Egypt.
That might be interesting.
That's cool. Yeah, that's interesting. That's cool. That's who the heck knows about like ancient Egyptian type shit or even like assassin shit in Egypt? That's fucking cool. That's cool.
Now, I will say, I don't know if delayed is the right word. I don't know if they ever intended to bring it out this year and then it just got delayed to next year, or if their original plan was to make it now a 2-year cycle, because people are saying to take its place this year is Watch Dogs 2, which I don't know, I'm kind of mixed feelings about. I mean, Watch Dogs 1 was cool at first, but the game was kind of shallow in content. Yep. And the multiplayer was boring at best. So
I think though, with the year Watch Dogs came out, because I think that game came out in June of 2014. I mean, Assassin's Creed came out that year too. So I don't know that Watch Dogs 2 alone would do that. I think it might have been a little bit of that. They really want to make Watch Dogs 2 something special, but that game didn't sell a whole lot.
Well, there was
returns and trades for it, but then again, Unity kind of ruined that too. People are still weary about picking up any Assassin's Creed because of that game.
Well, I will say Syndicate, which, as you heard, Tim was not a huge fan of, but I will say Syndicate's launch was nowhere near as bad as Unity. They did not have the same amount of game breaking visual problems and things like that. And
from what I understood, it was a good launch.
It was for Ubisoft. Yeah, it was a really good launch compared to what had happened at Unity and some of the games before that.
Ubisoft had I think one of the worst years as far as issues. It seemed like almost every game they released this year had massive issues, like Unity coming out, huge frame rate drops, people dropping below 30 FPS in some areas, people with like $1,000 graphics cards not even getting 30 FPS in areas. Like it was bad.
Well, you remember when they released Watch Dogs, and there was, I mean, it wasn't a scandal, but like it was kind of a thing where the graphics on Watch Dogs were not the same graphics that they showed a year earlier on their E3 trailer. Like the fidelity was way, way toned down, and people were like, "What the hell happened?" Like the graphics got worse. So that was, Ubisoft has some iffy launches, and so here's hoping that the second Watch Dogs and the new Assassin's Creed don't share those problems.
Hopefully.
Which I think they've learned. You know, if Syndicate's any indication, they've definitely taken a better step into the right direction.
So, along with Ubisoft, we'll talk about Ubisoft released the Far Cry Primal system requirements. Usually these are a good look to see, as far as graphics, what the game is going to be like, because the more expensive you need to pay for a graphics card, obviously, the better it's going to look. So, the minimum graphics card you need is a GTX 780. That is insane, because the GTX 780, honestly, didn't even come out, I would say, maybe 4 years ago. That doesn't sound very nuts to like a lot of people, but the thing is, a lot of these people build their computers and expect it to last like 6-7 years or whatever.
Yeah.
And I think part of the issue is that they have this GTX 550, which is a really old card, by the way. That thing's garbage. And they'll expect it just to do everything. And like the same thing happened with Fallout 4. People would complain at their performance of getting like below 60 FPS. And you find out they're running it on like a 750, and it's like you can't run these modern games on potatoes. Like, I'm sorry, it doesn't work.
It's true. I mean, you gotta have realistic expectations.
Far Cry Primal also did have a 2-hour live stream where they actually played the game. I didn't watch live stream. I've seen some trailers. I think it looks interesting. I think the main problem with this game compared to its predecessors is there's no guns in this. This is legit like back in the day, pretty far back in the day.
Like Caveman.
I feel like this game can either sell a lot or it could tank really, really hard. I don't think there's any middle ground here.
I think it's gonna sell middle ground because we haven't had a lot of pre-orders. In case anyone doesn't know, I am a manager. So I deal with a lot of business statistical things when it comes to games like this. I haven't seen a lot of pre-orders for it. I feel like it's going to pick up, a week or two before it comes out. But either it's going to be so bad people will trade it in the next day, or people realize it's so good and it's going to be like Until Dawn, where 3 people pre-order it, we get 4 copies, and then we're out of it for 3 weeks because no one expected it to be good.
Right. I agree.
Only thing that concerns me, I think the trailer, they were talking in like some native language, so you had to have captions to understand it. If the whole game is like that, people are going to get really annoyed. But then again, to make it accurate, you need that because they did not fucking speak English in that time period.
Well,
they didn't speak to each other well in that time period, but it is a game, so...
Yeah, and this is actually relevant to along Ubisoft's line. This is actually that same argument was brought up a lot in Unity, where the characters are speaking with English accents, even though they're, of course, in Paris, France. So they should be speaking French, or at least with a French accent. But the thing is when they were questioned about this, Ubisoft actually did release an article back then explaining their justification, and they found that in test groups and focus groups with gamers, when they used the realistic French accents, like Chris said, people got really annoyed. People didn't have any fun. It was distracting, it was hard to understand, and people didn't like it. So that's why they had to switch it to the British accent, because it was more understandable and it was more I guess, pleasant for people to listen to as opposed to the actual time period correct French accent. So I think, we in the trailer, like you said, they were speaking some weird native language. I'm sure there's probably like parts of that, but I would imagine following their usual trend, they probably have most of it in English because, they don't want to upset people. They want to sell it as best they can, which I think it'll sell pretty good. I'm probably on board with Chris where he said it'll probably sell like middle way, like an average game. I think it's cool because let's be honest, and Tim can attest to this and maybe Chris can too, but Far Cry 4 and Far Cry 3 were the same game. One was better graphics. Story. Yeah, different story and better graphics, but the mechanics were bad. I mean, they were the copy of the previous game, so it is cool to see Primal being like a huge step off the cliff of like what Far Cry normally is.
The release date is what shocked me. So weird. It comes out early February.
Yeah, that is odd. I mean, usually it's summer or fall, not in the middle of spring.
For Far Cry, it's normally October, November.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But I mean, I like it this way because it does get a bit expensive when they all come out at the same time in the fall. So it is cool that I prefer the games be spread out throughout the year, so I don't have to drop like $200 or something on games in the fall. But I think it'll be a good step, and maybe it'll work out, maybe it won't. Personally, I'm not pre-ordering it, and I probably won't even pick it up because I don't know. I've never been a huge Far Cry person at all. Either. So
this new one just doesn't look very interesting.
I mean, yeah. Well, I'd have to see. That's why I'm not going to pre-order it or anything. I want to see.
I'd probably do GameFly.
Yeah, GameFly maybe. I think it's on my GameFly list. By the way, everybody should use GameFly if you don't already.
I think it's funny though with Far Cry. That was the trailer for it for Far Cry Primal was Ice Age the animated movie. Minus the sloth in a video game. They should add the sloth. Was in there. I'm sure there's a sloth hanging around. Should but that's all that was. Ice Age the game.
They should totally bring in those characters for like a cameo. You know how funny that would be? Like, it would be stupid, but damn, would it be entertaining? I think it's a thing they should consider.
An Easter egg would be nice.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, that would be such a good Easter egg. Oh,
man, we're forgetting the best part. The fucking squirrel that always fought that nut.
The one that can't get the nut. Yes, I like it. These need to be Easter eggs. Ubisoft,
that'd be cool.
You need to do this if you're listening, which of course you're not, but if you were, you should definitely put that in there somewhere.
I'd be fine with just an acorn stuck in like a little patch of ice.
Yeah,
that would be enough for me.
That would be hilarious. I love it. I love that idea.
So let's talk about Xbox One console sales. This is a rumor. There's rumor going around that Xbox One has only got 18 million consoles sold. PS4 recently is confirmed to have around 3.6 million. Well,
you mean 30? Wait, you mean 35.6 million?
It's. I'm sorry, I rounded up. It's close.
Wait, no, you said 3.6 million.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry.
I was like, I think they sold more than that.
It was 36.
Okay,
36, I said it wrong.
Fair enough.
36 million. So let's talk about how there's a massive gap between the two, because if that's true, holy mother of God, that's almost like 20 million units more, almost. That is insane.
Yeah.
It's just because insane. Xbox, I felt like throughout the whole thing, since the launch of the consoles to now, they're always one step behind Sony as far as like what they're going to announce, or like a price drop or a new feature or things like that. Or even if they do beat them to the punch on some things, it just doesn't connect with people anymore. Like, if you don't, the way the console quote unquote war works, if you don't win right out the gate, you'll never catch up. Like, there's just you have to be that initial popular console, because if everybody buys PS4s in the beginning, and then even if, let's say, Xbox drops their price point, which they have done a few times, the problem is like people like kids or teenagers, they're like they want to have the same console that their buddy has, and if
Yeah.
the PS4 is the more popular initial one, then they're gonna go buy the PS4 because that's what their friend down the street has, you know. So
Yeah, that's exactly what happens at work.
Yeah.
Because it a lot of it comes down to someone comes in as like PS4, Xbox One, and we say which ones we have, and most of us all have PS4s with the exception of like one person.
yeah,
It depends on what your friends are doing, and it depends on what kind of games you play. And like exclusives, you look at those. Unless you're a diehard Halo or Gears of War fan, PS4's got the better exclusives, better
Sure.
hardware. It's a gaming system. Xbox One's more of a
home
media
entertainment.
system.
Yeah,
And
Sure.
a lot of people get confused by that, or they say, "Why is ordering a pizza on a system relevant?" That's just what they did. One thing I've noticed with Microsoft is they always wait for Sony, whether it's a price drop, virtual reality, backwards compatibility. Microsoft had backwards compatibility, technically, but PS4
Well-
for Sony, they had the PlayStation Now feature.
Well, let's
But
talk about
it's-
what you mentioned a second ago, VR. Of course, we said this in the beginning, but Microsoft has definitely taken a way, way different direction with. I don't know what it's called. Do
Like
you guys know?
Hollow.
HoloLens. That's it.
HoloLens.
HoloLens.
That though is an Xbox. Is the pro like
Yeah, it's not
HoloLens,
directly.
it's
Xbox.
compatible.
also people were like, "This is so much better than VR," and I'm like, "Wait till you see how much it costs." They're talking like $800-900 for this thing. So
It was
everyone's
originally in the
dreams-
thousands.
well, I'm just throwing a number out there. That's the minimum from what I've heard it was going to be. But like people, when I saw that, I was like, there's no way this thing isn't going to be at least $1,000 minimum. There's no way. And then guess
Yep.
what happened? That's exactly what it was, and everyone got their hopes up for nothing because it was overhyped. It is cool, but 99.9% of people that have an Xbox One aren't going to be able to buy it.
Yeah, it's not really kind of like what Chris said about the Xbox One in general. The HoloLens is not gaming focused. Like they showed it playing like Minecraft or something, but its main use is gonna be like, engineers
Business,
and
yeah.
like businesses so they can build things and designers and things like that, and they can see things in a 3D space. It's not really meant for gamers, which is definitely a direction Microsoft has gone. They've kind of abandoned. I mean, I won't say they abandoned them completely, but Xbox does not get the same amount of support that it used to get, like in the 360 days. Microsoft is definitely kind of, hey, they make us money, but we're trying to push the boundaries in different areas instead of just focusing on gaming. Because you can tell, like, notice now PS4 and Sony, they have all those rights to the big AAA things like Call of Duty, Star
I
Wars.
was gonna say those
Yeah.
two games right there would have sold that system.
Exactly.
People come in and be like, Xbox One, PS4. And we're like, what games do you want to play? And we're like, Call of Duty, Battlefront. We're like, okay, well, you can get this game for free if you buy PS4. And we're like,
Yeah,
okay, let me
exactly.
get one.
And I think that's to show that Sony, we all know Sony over the years has struggled financially with a lot of their departments, and PlayStation was the only real department that really, really brought in the profits. So you can see, because of that relation that PlayStation and Sony have with each other, Sony supports them with a lot of money to buy the rights to things like Call of Duty, whereas Microsoft's still making plenty of money in like their Windows and things like that. So they don't. I mean, Xbox makes money, but they don't have to support that as much because they're not as reliant on it as Sony is, and so that's what you kind of see, and that's the HoloLens and the Xbox One reflect that because they're not gaming focused anymore. They're home entertainment, or with the HoloLens, they are focused more on business and industry.
One thing I would say, coming from, mainly now I play Counter-Strike, a lot of PC games. For me, the PlayStation 4 makes sense. They have some exclusives you can't get anywhere else. They have Bloodborne. They have a lot of good titles that are fun to play. But if you see on the Xbox side of things, I played Halo, which is only available on Xbox One. I thought it was all right. Very, very average shooter. Played Gears of War. Hated that game. And all their other exclusives are already going to PC anyway. Like,
yeah, that's the problem with
Tomb
them.
Raider. Tomb
It's not a
Raider
real
is coming to PC this month. It's coming to PC this month, I think on the 26th or something. I'm like, what's the point in me buying your console if I can get all the games or most of the games on my PC anyway?
Yep. And on top of that,
what is the point?
a lot of these games that come out even on both consoles, a lot of those AAA games suffer in performance on Xbox One as opposed to where they
Call of
don't
Duty-
suffer on PS4.
Call of Duty has failed to be a 1080p game on Xbox One.
Right, and that's another selling point for if you're a gamer and you go into Chris's GameStop and Chris sits there and tells you, look, man, like you can play this game in 1080p on PlayStation or you can play it at 900 or 720p on Xbox, they're gonna pick PlayStation.
That's another focus point that we always mention.
Yeah, because that's what people like to hear is that resolutions.
It just bothers me as like, because for me, I have a PC and a console, and the reason why I keep my PS4, the reason why I don't sell it is because they keep coming out with titles that hit and titles that are good. Until Dawn, that game was amazing. Bloodborne wasn't really my type of thing at first, but it has a niche and it got on to me. There's a lot of games, Uncharted, like they have a lot of
Last
titles.
of Us, forgot that one. Yeah,
see, they have so many good titles.
Oh,
that come
Last
out
of
on
Us.
PlayStation, you can't get anywhere else. So like with me having my PlayStation, it makes sense, but that's part of the reason why I got rid of my Xbox One, because most of the games were coming to PC anyway, and one, they're gonna have better resolution on my PC than Xbox, better frame rates than they have on Xbox. The only difference is I'm waiting around a month or whatever, and I get to sell a console and have $300 instead.
Yeah, it was
like
pointless.
it just Xbox One right now, for at least for me, it doesn't make any sense. I've had one before. I'm never buying one ever again. It's pointless.
True. Well, is there any really good article you want left? Because I think we are reaching a little bit over an hour now.
Let's go on to the very last one, and let's talk about the next console cycle. Apparently, the analyst thinks it'll arrive in 2019, or they'll show a new PlayStation, Xbox, whatever.
I say that's pretty unlikely, if you ask me.
The thing is that these what they're doing this from is that like both consoles are struggling with like reaching these frames per second and stuff with these newer graphics, and they're just gonna make a new one. No, like with consoles, the thing is with the last generation was the longest one, but it also was one of the ones that a lot of people really liked, because before the PS3 and the and the Xbox 360, you had to replace these consoles like around every 6 years. It was annoying. That's why a lot of people went with PC gaming, because they didn't have to keep moving their games. They didn't have to keep rebuying their games. It was still on the same system.
Right.
Me personally, I think they're gonna go with a 10-year cycle again. Like I'm not if someone's to ask me, I'm not expecting a new console till 2023, which is 10 years after the PS4 releases. I don't think they're gonna do what these guys are saying, especially with the way the economy is, with people like they're like, I just bought this console like 6 years ago, and you're making another one already. Like, no, I'm not buying that.
And
like,
on top of that, if you buy the PlayStation VR, which is another $400, you don't want to then have to buy a console and maybe have to buy another VR headset after that. Like, you're right. I think you're right, Tim. I think it's definitely a 9 to 10 year cycle, just like the PS3 and the Xbox 360 were.
It's what people want in general. Like, it's just like when people buy hardware, they don't want to have it last only like 6-7 years. They want it to last a decade. Like, they want it to last a decade. They want it to last a while.
I agree. I think you're very true on that.
Same thing goes with PC gamers too. Like, they don't want to have to upgrade their computer every like couple of years. That'd be really aggravating.
Yeah, just every 3 years, right? You gotta throw in the new graphics card.
I wouldn't have to upgrade mine probably for another 4 or 5 years, probably. To stay on the high settings, but It depends on what you want. But I think these people that are coming out and saying this are people that are expecting these systems to get like 60 FPS on a lot of these games and 1080p, this and that, and 4K, and I'm like, that's not happening.
Yeah,
For
I
a
think
long time.
I mean, I think the only thing that might motivate it to be a slightly shorter period, and by that I mean maybe like 7 or 8 years, is kind of like this hardcore push for like 4K and things like that. They might consider doing something then.
Even with that, though, is the price with 4K monitors and TV has to come down drastically before
Right.
it becomes standard.
Which
Because
I think it might.
The way they have 4K priced right now, it is so goddamn expensive.
Yeah. It's
Like-
not practical.
And even with gaming wise, you can, honestly, the most as far as like frame rate wise for a monitor I've seen is a 60 hertz 4K monitor, and that's like a 5 millisecond response time. That is terrible. 5 milliseconds.
I was about to say, dude,
Oh my
that's
God.
unbearable. I play on a 1
And
millisecond. So do you.
then, a lot of the people, even in the PC scene, why a lot of people don't even bother with 4K is because a lot of them play Counter-Strike. You don't want a 5 millisecond response time monitor. And
Might as well get a TV for that.
Along with that, it's just you're spending all this money, and most games aren't going to have the right support for it. And it just seems like right now it's just a massive waste of money to buy anything 4K.
I agree.
Blubber.
It's
All
kind of
right.
like how Blu-ray was when it first came out. A lot of people
True.
didn't adopt it
Very
until it got
true.
way cheaper.
You're
Yeah,
right
but
on
look
that.
what's happened now. Now with every Xbox game that is sold, Microsoft has to pay Sony for that because Sony owns the Blu-ray technology.
That's how you do it. Sneaky like that. All right. So, like we end every episode, we have our funny thought to ponder. And this week, the question is, are eyebrows considered facial hair?
Yep.
I would assume so.
I mean, you say that, but when somebody says, oh, you have no facial hair, those people still have eyebrows. People
Yeah,
don't
but-
usually consider that facial hair.
Technically, facial hair
Technically,
is
it's hair
not
on your
any
face.
hair on your face, which would be an eyebrow. But most people generalize facial hair as the bottom.
But is it
nose.
most people or all people? Have you ever said like, "Oh, nice facial hair" in reference to someone's eyebrows? Because I've never said that. I don't know about you guys.
You know, I'm going to start saying that now.
Just gonna go up to them and be like, "Man, your facial hair is great," and they're gonna be like,
Like, I'm
"What do
clean
you?"
shaven. What
yeah,
are you
I'm
talking
clean
about?
shaven. What about your eyebrows? They're still there. Okay, well, I think we can learn that we're gonna start that trend starting today. We're gonna tell
Yep.
people their eyebrows are facial hair. All right, so that's gonna do it for episode 4. If you like what you heard here, you can follow us on SoundCloud where this will be posted, as well as subscribe to us on YouTube at Iron Sentinels Gaming, where this also will be posted, and all of our recent content. You can, and finally, also follow us on Twitter, which is at Iron Sentinels, and you can keep up with all of our latest news and content there. We love you. Thank you for listening, and we hope you have a great week, and we'll see you next week.